There are stories people think they understand because they remember how they felt watching them. Sadness, sympathy, a sense of weight that lingers. But feeling something is not the same as seeing it clearly. And this story, more than most, hides its true discomfort beneath emotion that feels familiar. This is The Green Mile, released in 1999. It's often described as a prison drama, sometimes a supernatural one, sometimes a story about mercy. All of those descriptions circle the surface. None of them quite touch the unease that grows quietly underneath. This is not a film about death. It is about what prolonged exposure to power does to ordinary people who believe they are simply doing their jobs. The place itself feels longer than it should, a corridor stretched just past comfort. Every step measured, every sound amplified. The men who work here move with routine confidence, the kind that comes from repetition. They don't wake up thinking about cruelty. They wake up thinking about order, about schedules, about keeping things calm. That's how this world survives, by making the unbearable feel procedural. At the center of this routine is a man who has learned to balance empathy with distance. He watches carefully, speaks calmly, and carries the quiet authority of someone who knows exactly how much control he has. He believes in fairness, but fairness here has rules. And those rules do not bend easily. New arrivals disrupt the rhythm, not because they are violent, but because they bring uncertainty. Each one is a reminder that the system is still active, still consuming. Most are treated as expected, observed, managed, moved along their path, until one arrives who does not fit the shape of guilt the place is built around. He is large, visibly intimidating, and yet something about him feels strangely misplaced here. Not wrong in the legal sense, wrong in the emotional one. His presence doesn't bring threat. It brings confusion, and confusion is dangerous in an environment that relies on clear categories. This is where the story quietly turns, though no one names it. The routines continue. The procedures are followed, but attention lingers longer than it should. Reactions soften where they usually harden, not because anyone decides to be kind, but because something about this man disrupts the emotional shorthand everyone depends on. The system notices this disruption too, in its own way. Authority here is not singular. It leaks through individuals who enjoy it too much, and others who hide behind it completely. Cruelty does not always announce itself. Sometimes it jokes. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it calls itself discipline. What happens next exposes something uncomfortable. The men tasked with carrying out death are not immune to influence. They are shaped by what they witness, by what they permit themselves to feel. Some grow gentler without realizing it. Others grow sharper, threatened by anything that weakens the boundary between them and the condemned. Small moments begin to accumulate, not miracles, not declarations, just shifts. A touch that lingers, a look that asks a question no one wants to say aloud, pain that moves instead of ends. These moments are not explained. They are endured, and endurance becomes the language of the film. This detail changes how the threat should be understood. The danger here is not that the system might make a mistake. It's that it might be working exactly as designed and still be wrong. That realization is far harder to confront because it offers no easy fix, no villain to remove, no lever to pull. As days pass, the corridor feels heavier, not because of what happens there, but because of what refuses to resolve. The man at the center remains gentle in ways that feel almost inappropriate to the place. He absorbs pain rather than deflecting it, and those around him begin to feel the cost of witnessing that absorption. Some react with awe, others with suspicion, a few with resentment, because if suffering can be carried without bitterness, then bitterness loses its justification, and for people who rely on it to survive their role, that is a quiet threat. The guards are not monsters. That's the most unsettling part. They complain. They worry about their families. They are capable of kindness and capable of cruelty, sometimes in the same breath. The film refuses to simplify them, because simplification would let the audience off to ease. Fear operates differently for each of them. Fear of losing control, fear of appearing weak, fear of caring too much, fear of realizing too late that they have mistaken obedience for morality. These fears don't erupt. They simmer. Meanwhile, the corridor continues to do what it was built to do. The walk is repeated. The rituals are observed. Each time, the process looks the same, but it never feels the same again. Something has shifted, and it cannot be unseen. This is not a story about redemption arriving in a blaze of certainty. It's about erosion, the slow wearing away of certainty, the realization that some things cannot be unlearned once they are felt, and that feeling, once introduced, spreads. The man who oversees this place begins to carry more than authority. He carries memory. He remembers expressions, reactions, details that no longer fit neatly into his understanding of justice. And memory is dangerous here, because it resists closure. By now, the question is no longer about guilt or innocence. It's about responsibility, about what it means to participate in something you did not design but now maintain, about whether distance truly absolves anyone or simply delays reckoning. The corridor grows quieter, not calmer, quieter, as if everyone is listening for something they cannot yet identify. The presence that disrupted the order has not overpowered it. It has exposed its fragility, and that fragility hangs unresolved as this part of the story comes to rest. The routine continues. The system remains intact, but the men who walk its length are no longer untouched by it. They have seen something that does not belong here. And on Sashin, it cannot be unseen. That is where this story pauses, not with answers, but with weight.